So apparently this article that I'm about to share with you was the most read article on the whole website for The Drum the week that it was published, which is a first for me as a columnist at The Drum starting last year. So I'm excited to share this with you. Got a lot of attention when I shared it on LinkedIn also. And honestly, I completely understand why, because I have been banging this drum for almost a year now about how retailers should really talk more about their tech stacks and their USP so that advertisers really understand how they're investing in technology, how they're investing in capabilities for advertisers. I think it's part of a bigger problem of retailers not really effectively marketing their RMNs. It's due to a lot of different reasons. I shared it in a post last year. I might do a recap soon, but kind of comes down to a number of different factors. Retailers are very sort of traditional companies. A lot of them kind of shy away from promoting themselves a whole lot. And so if you're the head of one of these retail media networks inside a retailer, you're kind of hamstrung a little bit about what you can say and what you can announce. It's not always, the preference of these retail media network leaders to be so secretive about it. But there's a number of different reasons why they tend to be very secretive about what their tech looks like. Anyway, all of that to say that there was a little bit of a bomb that went off at NRF earlier in January when Mark Williamson, the leader of Costco's RMN, got up on stage at a event and just shared the company's tech stack right there on stage with names, mapped it out. And of course, everyone's phones went up to take pictures of this tech stack, and it created definitely a bit of a hubbub at NRF. So of course I jumped right on and I wrote a post sharing this, and I'm going to just share some highlights of this with you rather than reading the whole piece, because of course we'll link up to the full post in the show notes. Let's jump in. So setting the stage here, retail media generates high margin revenue for retailers, and that is attractive when most retailers operate on razor thin margins. Looking at retail media, that different types of retail media can offer 40, 60, 80% profit margins. But Mark Williamson argues that it creates a dangerous temptation for retail media leaders like himself, which is chasing advertising profit at the expense of merchant outcomes, at the ultimate objective of selling merchandise. At some point, if taken too far, the whole thing will fall apart. Here's what he said on stage. It's not necessarily either or. It's what's the order of operations? What's the hierarchy? If you chase after profitable media revenue, you may undermine your efforts to drive real customer value. Costco's hierarchy is explicit. Sales velocity comes first. The member experience and member renewals come first. And there is definitely, the merchant at Costco seems to be the top dog. So that creates an unusual dynamic. Transparency in the tech stack serves two audiences. Merchants who control supplier relationships need proof that advertising actually accelerates their goals, which is to sell more stuff. And advertisers need to understand how the system works well enough to trust it. And so Mark said, for my merchant partners, the ones I rely on for support driving incremental sales, sales velocity is a prerequisite for their support. If we can't help them turn more product, then what's the point? So I've profiled this dynamic before, not just with Mark at Costco, but also another one to call out is Molly Jelm at Ace Hardware, who told me that retail media should show up in the merchant's P&L rather than operating as a separate profit center. And so Mark is making the same bet at a significant scale. Did you know that leading retail media networks drive 85% of their ads through mid and long tail advertisers. Miracle Ads provides full funnel ad formats tailored to both 1P and 3P advertisers, leveraging unique AI capabilities that provide unprecedented levels of relevance and engagement. Retailers who want to capture ad spend from the long tail of 3P marketplace sellers use Miracle Ads in their tech stack. Learn more at miracle.com. That's MIRAKL.com. Now, do you want me to read out the whole tech stack on a podcast? I'm not sure it's exactly the right format for that, but I will just say that the infrastructure divides into 4 layers, each designed around a specific function of service in service of that sales velocity goal. So I'll just call out the 4 sort of layers, and if you want to get more deep into, okay, which solution providers are they actually using for each of these layers, then you can check out the article. So there is a unified data foundation, which is really important for everything else that comes after that, because everything flows from membership data, because at Costco, membership is the number one item that is sold. Without members in a club environment, there is no one to sell anything to. So retail media that disrupts member retention breaks the flywheel. And so that is why this data foundation is super important to Costco in particular. Next level is the activation channels. We have in retail media on-site, sponsored product ads, etc., off-site, retail media, and in-person, in real life, which obviously includes in-store, but also includes things like traditional print, like the Costco Connection magazine. Layer 3 is the measurement layer. So that is essential for connecting digital ad exposure to online and in-warehouse transaction data. And then finally, layer 4, the operations side, is a self-serve model as well as a direct sales model. That is really important for expanding the potential pool of advertisers that are willing to activate there. So coming back to the importance of merchandising strategy, Mark described Costco's merchandising strategy in simple terms: value, quality, assortment, newness, and promotion. That's what keeps members returning. And retail media's role, if it's working properly, should just be fuel on the flame. This willingness to reveal the tech stack publicly signals something important to advertisers. Costco views them as partners worth being transparent with. Transparency builds trust. That's true of both consumers and media buyers. Agencies and brands continuing to invest in retail media want to know that their dollars are being shepherded effectively and efficiently. What better way to demonstrate investment in the advertiser relationship than showing exactly how you're using best-in-class solutions across the value chain? Most retailers guard these choices when there's little benefit to doing so. The secrecy creates friction and suspicion, and Mark's approach suggests an alternative. That openness and infrastructure can strengthen partnerships rather than weaken competitive position. The lesson for other retailers, in my view, is not to copy Costco's specific vendor choices. What works for them and what's important for them as a huge club retailer is not going to be the same for a regional or a category specific retailer. It's about getting clear on your own strategic objectives and building accordingly, then being transparent about those choices with the partners who need to understand them. That transparency enables collaboration at multiple levels. Vendors on the tech side understand what problems actually need solving. Other retailers can learn from the strategic approach without copying the specific stack. Advertisers can make informed decisions about where to allocate budgets based on actual infrastructure rather than marketing claims. Retailers maintaining secrecy should ask themselves, what are we really protecting? And is it worth the cost in advertiser trust and ecosystem collaboration? Thanks for listening. You can check out the full article on retailmediabreakfastclub.com, and I'll catch you tomorrow.